Hey everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Meditations and More podcast, brought to you by Earth Mama's Apothecary and littleshaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. Today I wanted to talk to you about narcissists and no-win situations. These are sometimes known as lose-lose situations or double binds, and they are very common when you're dealing with a narcissistic person. Basically, a double bind is a situation where no matter what course of action you choose, you are wrong. Either the choice you are given cancels itself out, or both supposed choices end up with the same outcome. For example, let's say your narcissistic loved one keeps asking you to attend counseling with them. You know that if you say yes and attend counseling, you'll be accused of trying to sabotage their treatment by trying to turn the counselor against the narcissist, or they'll attempt to turn the counselor against you. But if you say no and refuse to attend, you'll be accused of trying to sabotage the narcissist treatment by not helping therapy progress. This is a no-win situation because no matter what you do, you're going to be wrong and you're going to be punished. No-win situations are very cruel. They create an extraordinary amount of stress in people because there's no way to resolve the situation. If we look at our therapy example, the person can't even opt out of the situation by refusing to participate in it because the refusal to participate in the situation still results in a negative consequence. People feel trapped and confused. I read a book one time. It's a fictional novel, so don't worry. And in one scene in the book, they had conditioned a cat to learn that hitting a button would stop the small electrical shock that was running through the floor. Then for another experiment, they put the cat back into the stimulus environment, only this time instead of stopping the shock, there were two buttons, and both buttons resulted in negative experience. One gave a worse shock, and the other sprayed out skunk scent. In a very short amount of time, the cat simply shut down. It was unable to resolve or escape the situation and gave up trying, confused and afraid. This is the same thing that can happen to people who are constantly put in no-win situations, especially children. They may eventually shut down, unable to bear the stress of it anymore and unable to resolve or escape the situation. They may become unable to make decisions at all because they have been conditioned to believe that any decision will result in something bad happening. Even those that are able to make decisions may find themselves severely stressed by having to make a choice and inordinately afraid of making the wrong one. If your kids watch SpongeBob, there was a great example of a double bind in one episode. SpongeBob's boss, Mr. Krabs, was trying to impress Mrs. Puff, but he didn't want to spend too much money, so he gave his wallet to SpongeBob to hold on to. No matter what SpongeBob did, he was wrong. If he didn't buy Mrs. Puff the gifts his boss was asking him to buy, he got yelled at for not buying them. If he did, he got yelled at for spending too much money. Poor SpongeBob ended up going crazy and cussing Mr. Krabs out. It was a funny episode, but it also shows that the huge amount of stress and pressure this kind of situation puts on somebody is no joke. Narcissists often create no-win situations because they're looking for somebody to blame. If we look to our therapy example, we can see that the narcissist is just trying to blame somebody in advance for the therapy not being successful. They want to put the responsibility for this and all things on somebody else. So they say it can't work unless you're involved. Then when you are involved, they say it can't work because you got involved and you ruined it, as if they didn't ask you. Their truth also fluctuates from day to day or even hour to hour with their mood, and therefore what was okay yesterday or even a few hours ago may no longer be okay now. You've received no warning and you have no idea why it's not okay now, but somehow you were supposed to know and you will be punished for your ignorance. This is one of the reasons dealing with pathologically narcissistic people is so impossible. It's impossible to do anything, build anything, or create security with a person who has no truth or facts in their life, just feelings that can change at any second. How can you build a relationship of any kind with this person when you can't even be sure if they still want the same kind of soda they asked for by the time you get back from the kitchen? It's impossible. They may decide they want to have a baby. They may decide you're suddenly going to have the mother and daughter or mother and son or father and daughter or father and son relationship you've always been wanting. And then in 2 hours, they never said that. They don't feel that way anymore. It's impossible to deal with somebody like that. You will never be secure in the situation, ever. Another reason they set up people in no-win situations is because, frankly, many of them enjoy hurting other people. They just do. They enjoy confusing, angering, manipulating, or otherwise upsetting people because they're angry and insecure. They can't create or regulate their own self-worth, remember. Every tiny bit they get has to come at somebody else's expense. They cannot be elevated without stomping someone else into the ground. They cannot be right unless someone else is wrong. They cannot be good unless someone else is bad. They cannot win unless someone else loses. They cannot succeed unless someone else fails. This is the dynamic at play, for example, when the narcissist insists you don't spend enough time with them, yet berates and attacks and insults you whenever you are around. They need you around, all right, but it's not for anything you want to be a part of. The way to combat this is with strong boundaries. Remember that their weapon is generally not what they say or do. It's how you feel about what they say and do. This is where you have the power and where you've always had it. You don't have to let their behavior affect you. You can choose not to react. This can be difficult at first, especially because people get into patterns of behavior, but it is not impossible at all. It can be done. If they are violent or they become violent, you need to contact the authorities. Do what you have to so that you can move on with your life. That way you can do what needs to be done in life and stop worrying about whether a childish, emotionally immature person is going to have a problem with it or not. Shake off the guilt. There's nothing wrong with asserting yourself and refusing to participate in situations where you are being treated badly. It's your life, and no one is going to live it if you don't. No one's going to come along and do the right thing for any of us. We have to do it ourselves. So in the end, when you're dealing with pathologically narcissistic people, you're basically damned if you do and damned if you don't. But if you're damned either way, how about you just don't? Hope this clears a few things up for you. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions, so please keep those coming. I'm looking forward to your own examples of double bind and no-win situations. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by littleshaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. May the Great Spirit bless you and have a wonderful day.